really, really cool. She was a lot of fun to be around, easy to be around, true pro in every sense of the word.
Were there any other WCW ideas that you attempted to get through for yourself that just for one reason or another never happened on TV?
It took a while to get Torrie put with me. I was hopeful that during that interim period that Francine would wrap up in ECW and be available. When that didn't happen, I went to Bischoff, and it really shocked me how, for the contract that he gave me, how little he really was aware of the franchise character. I think he had just been so turned off by Shane Douglas's big mouth that he didn't really pay attention to watching what I was doing there. And when I went to him and asked him about, like, when I finally realized Franny wasn't leaving, I wanted to work with Torrie, because she was just really, really cool. She was a lot of fun to be around, easy to be around, true pro in every sense of the word. And I went to him, and it was sort of like, yeah, whatever. So I knew like it wasn't going to be getting a big push or anything, but I heard some of the interview with Teddy and how Teddy sort of persevered in wrestling. And once my hope was, like Teddy did, once I got working with Torrie, I knew that she was going to captivate the audience at being a heel. And that once we did that, the company would look and go, hey, there's something in these guys, right? The chemistry's there and everything else. And of course, that would happen in large part because of what you just mentioned, this revolving door of committees and this person and that person and a committee again, and then that person's out, this person. It became, like the Scarecrow. They went that way. It was just became a debacle of how not to run any company.
Do you know, I've never heard you talk about Torrie Wilson before, at least not to me anyway. So we might as well dive into that one a tiny bit then. So, I mean, first off, you rescued her from David Flair, which is, I mean, she's probably, I don't know if she was happy or not to leave David Flair, but God, he was just the worst in WCW. Anyway.
Good guy, though. Good guy.
I'm sure he's a great guy and everything, but man, that's what stopped me watching WCW was David Flair for a bit, let me tell you. So Torrie comes in. She was just a fan, sort of just making her way into the arena at the time, and that's how she ended up on TV. Am I right?
She had been a fitness model, and I'm not sure who it was that saw her or where the connection came, but they had seen her, and she was really, really good at doing that. One thing about Torrie, like Francine, she was a very quick learner. For me, like having somebody like this next to me obviously helps my character out, but you need to be able to understand being in that kind of a spot, like a top spot, the heat generation and all of that. But much like Franny, she really took to it quickly. Like she was an open thinker, wasn't like, oh, I can't do this or do that. Just a great, easy, professional person to work with.
Was Torrie someone that you had to coach, or did she just intrinsically get it?
Tiny bit. Like Franny, she would take direction. We generally, unlike Franny and I, who traveled together and then stayed together for the kayfabe of the gimmick, Torrie and I didn't do that. Torrie, traveled on her own, and we would meet at the buildings. But she, like Francine, very similar to Francine, asked a ton of questions when I was giving her points and things like data points, what to do, hey, when we're doing, like, we're in a high spot, you do nothing, just be pretty and stand there. When we take a rest hold, now you come to life. She took to that very, very quickly. You could see she had that professional background. And when we finally came up, because you can imagine, it's this beautiful woman as she is, that the fans were booing me, of course, because they love Flair. And then she was sort of like the early incarnation of ECW, or of the Triple Threat in ECW, where she was, getting golf claps or outright cheers by the guys. So we had to come up with some way to get her on my side of the fence. She's not going to get booed as much as obviously because how she looked and looks. But we started with the line, "Don't hate me because I'm this beautiful. It's not my fault." And boy, it really started working. And at that point, they did the ignominious Viagra on a pole. I get the idea for it's a timely thing at that point when Viagra first hits the market, and it wasn't even about the embarrassing part of doing it. Like you're wrestling, so it's not really, if I go to a movie and get shot, I'm not really getting shot and killed. So I didn't look at it that way. I just thought it's really silly. It's like bringing us down into sort of like slapstick territory, and my character, I was never about slapstick. I wanted to piss the fans off and send them home so they pay their dime the next time to come see somebody kill me. but they fed us almost immediately, right as that heat was starting to gel. For Torrie's "Don't Hate Me" because of this beautiful line was really starting to get the crowd against her. And by that time, I had solidified my heat. I had a problem when I first got there was half the fans knew who I was and were thrilled that I was there to face Flair. And the other half were like, hey, who's the blonde guy? Like there's this real divide. And by the time Torrie had several months in got put with me, I had now gotten those audience members that didn't know me to understand who this character is. And they, of course, love Flair. And now they're hating her. And then they almost within a month fed us to Goldberg. And it put me in a very tight spot because at this point, Bischoff is there, Russo's there. And the dressing room, like I'm sure we'll talk about at some point and probably have in the past, the battle at the beach, the whole them and us thing, this divide in the dressing room that was so political and so overt as to be like a cancer in the dressing room, but it was very stark camps. You're either with us or against us, that kind of thing. And it put me in a really bad spot because if I go to Russo and I say, this is a shitty idea and here's why, then the other side's going to say, see, Shane's not business, and start tearing not just me, but Russo down. So I went out and did it exactly as laid out. And Crowbar, bless his heart, fed himself to us where we throw him off the huge drop down into the pit. And then we're cutting the promo, walking to the ring with the "Don't Hate Me" because of this beautiful and hey, ain't my fault I got this girl and you got that fatso sitting next to you, that kind of stuff. And here comes Goldberg, boom, spear, jackhammer, done. Every bit of heat that Crowbar had just given us and the heat we'd gotten on the promo and in the preceding time leading up to that point was now flushed down the drain. And I went to Russo afterwards and I pulled him into he goes, oh, that was great. And I pulled him in and said, can I talk to you? We went into the room. I closed the door. I said, that was a shitty idea. And here's why. And he said, well, how would you have done it? And I said, well, she just started getting heat and it was getting great heat. And I had heat. We were now at the point where we're going to start gelling and start being able to get to that point. I said, do everything exactly as you did it, except when he goes to spear me, I throw Torrie in front. She takes the spear and I get my ass out, right? Real heat. And then it's going to start a little bit of Elizabeth and Macho Man type of dynamic and have this go on for 6, 8, 12 months. Every time here comes Goldberg to get the big mouth, he somehow slips away. When the fans finally get to the point where they say, he ain't going to get him, boom. I think Goldberg's coming from his pyro entrance. I turn to go out this curtain and he spears me through the curtain. Case achieved. The whole while, fans are captivated, watching, following, and telling their friends about it and building it. And he said, why didn't you say that before? And I explained to him, and it was the politics, that call it that there are a lot of Ivy League schools that now do courses on how not to run a company and use WCW as the personification of that. And it wasn't that either one was right, either one was wrong. It was just this divide in the dressing room, and no dressing room and no house divided can stand. So, but yeah, she was great to work with.